Hey guys, and welcome back to today's video. So I need you guys to stop what you're doing, like seriously, and go follow this amazing sister on TikTok who goes by the name Freedom in Yeshua. She's out here dropping real educational gems. Don't walk, run to her page. She's doing amazing and fantastic and breaking things down in a way that folks clearly need to hear. Now let's continue. First of all, let me just say this: why is it that some palm color people feel so entitled to teach black history based on what they googled last night? Make it make sense, because honestly, who better to educate black history than a black person whose ancestors actually lived through it? It's the audacity for me. But you see, this sister came out with receipts, real ones, and honestly, I couldn't have said it any better than she did. But I'll try my best to break down some of the things that she's mentioning at the end of this clip, just to make sure we are on the same page. In the meantime, do yourself a favor and rush to her TikTok account now, because this might be the last time I share one of her videos on here. You don't want to miss what she's teaching. And as always, please drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll come back at the end of this video to give my own 2 cents. Let's get into it.
Oh, I see you, Jennifer, taking a stroll in my comment section, the lily white librarian of lies who always has an answer. You really thought you could roll up with your recycled stats and that tired air of white superiority like you're going to shut me down. Newsflash, Becky. You just stepped into the wrong classroom. Yes, you did. See, I'm not one of those silent, sweet types you're used to streamrolling and trolling. I'm an educated, empowered, and unbothered black woman with receipts, range, and righteous rage. And today, baby, you're getting schooled. So go ahead, take several seats, and pull out that notebook and get ready to learn something real. Because while you're out here quoting surface level statistics, honey, I'm quoting centuries of sabotage, suppression, and stolen sovereignty. So let's begin this lesson, shall we? I see you brought up Central State and Wilberforce's graduation rates as if they were alone proving some kind of intellectual deficiency in black institutions. But let's go ahead and pull back the plantation curtain on your hypocrisy, baby. Let's get into these historical receipts. See, HBCUs were never meant to compete on a level playing field because the field was set on a plantation. Wilberforce University, founded in 1856, is the first private HBCU and was burned to the ground during the Civil War by who? White mobs. And what about Central State? Yeah, it spun from Wilberforce, rose from the ashes with minimum state funding and constant uphill battles. Meanwhile, PWI's, predominantly white institutions, received federal land grants, state funding, and corporate endowments from stolen black labor. Yeah. See, HBCUs are symptomatically underfunded by design. See, a 2022 report by Forbes showed that black land grant colleges were underfunded by $12.8 billion over 30 years compared to white institutions. And in Ohio, the state that I live in, Central State was shortchanged for decades, receiving pennies, while Ohio State received billions. Endowments? Harvard sits on $50 billion. But what about Wilberforce? Barely cracks $10 million. Now do the math on that, Becky, on the outcomes, and one team starts with 0. Then you want to talk about graduation rates? Well, let's reflect on the economic instability, not the educational inferiority. Most HBCU students are first generation low income and work full-time jobs while attending school. Many have fewer safety nets, less generational wealth, and battle racist financial aid structures. But I know you don't know about that because, your white privilege gives you something different. Yet HBCUs outperform in launching black professionals, doctors, lawyers, judges, CEOs per capita. But I guess they're not qualified. They're just the DEI. That lie. So let's not act like the PWIs haven't had their own scandals. Yale, Harvard, UCS caught in admission frauds and bribery. Stanford and UNC athletic grade inflation and fake classes. But sure, let's pretend that the black schools are the problem. See, what your so-called stat dumps really reveals isn't our failure, it's your fear, baby. Your fear that black excellence rising despite being underfunded, being underestimated, and being uninvited. You fear the truth that even when the system is rigged, guess what, baby? We rise. We still create. We build. We graduate. Oh, and you ain't gonna stop that. So next time you post stats, sweetheart, try posting the whole story. Tell them about the redlining, which blocked black families from owning homes to fund college. Tell them about the GI Bill exclusion, which denied black veterans education after World War II. Won't you go ahead and tell them about school segregation, which left black students with hand-me-down books until 1980s. Tell them about state funding formulas designed to starve black institutions. Tell them about philanthropic and gatekeeping where major donors bypass HBCUs. You quote percentages like they prove something. We quote history because it exposes everything. So poor little Jennifer, keep quoting those stats. We'll keep quoting truth. And the truth is, black students are not failing. They're fighting. And we fight with less funding, less support, and more resilience than your entitled institutions could ever even comprehend. Whew. Oh, Joe, you still around here tap dancing in delusion. I see you. You really logged on just to flex your colonizer DNA and brag about how your people manufactured debt as a weapon? Yes, we know. That's what your kind does best. Y'all create debt, destabilize nations, and then you profit off of the chaos, just like y'all did with Haiti. Yeah, you remember that? Let's talk those receipts, shall we? Yeah, so Haiti defeated France in 1804, and what did your satanic seed do? You made them pay reparations to their former slave masters, the same ones they overthrew. And that so-called debt, 21 billion in today's money, siphoned out of the first free black republic backed by your Rothschilds run banks. Y'all do know the Rothschilds are the Ashkenazi Jews, right? That you people keep aligning with, that they keep puppeteering you all. I'm gonna have to make a video on that one. Your people call it economics. The rest of us call it economic terrorism. So yes, we know exactly how y'all operate. You slap chains on people's wrists, and when they get exposed, you switch the debt and doctrine and the distraction. It's the same thing. Then you want to say they're enslaved by their own people. Really? That's cute. You like to project, yeah. Well, who funded the guns? Who trained the warlords? Who dropped IMF loans with interest so high it guaranteed generational bondage? I hear crickets. Your fingerprints is all over the African blood you pretend to weep for. Don't act like a spectator when you are the puppet master. And let's not forget, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, Matthew 20:16. You are the tail masquerading as the head, but the script is about to flip, baby. See, your time is ticking. Your kingdom built on lies, loans, and land theft is circling the drain. And when the true king returns, the seed of Satan will be judged, and you aligning with the seed of Satan. And guess what? He's going to judge, not debate. You're not debating prophecy. You're living proof of it. So while you are laughing, we still rising. While you're mocking, we're maturing. While you're gloating, we're gathering the remnant. So enjoy your moment, because your empire is expiring, baby. And when the Messiah cracks that sky, boom, mockery turns into your morning. Joe. What are we going to do with you? You running around in my comment section with all this indoctrination. Bless your little revisionist heart. You really came back with 620,000 mostly white soldiers died to end slavery. Like that was a moral mic drop. Let's go ahead and dismantle this fantasy by brick, because you clearly miss every credible history class not taught by daughters of the Confederacy. Fact one, the Civil War wasn't about freeing black people. No, it was about preserving the Union, controlling the South's economy, and deciding who would benefit most from slavery's profits, not ending it out of moral obligation. Oh, did you think that you were supposed to be some savior? Even Abraham Lincoln said it himself in 1862. If I could save the Union without freeing slaves, I would do it. Abraham Lincoln's letter to Horace Greeley. Now, that translation, just in case you couldn't get it, freeing the slaves was a political strategy, not a humanitarian effort. And what about fact two, baby? The Emancipation Proclamation didn't free all slaves. It applied to states in rebellion, Confederate states, not the border states like Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, where slavery was still legally practiced. So again, y'all weren't dying for righteousness. You were dying for control. Can we say that, class? Dying for control. And let's talk about fact three. Northern free states still profited off of slavery. Wall Street built on slavery. Ivy League schools financed by slavery. Northern textile mills depended on Southern slave-picked cotton. So even when your ancestors weren't holding the whip, they were counting the profits. And what about fact four? Shall I remind you? You talking about you sold your own people is another colonizer cop-out. Let's correct that tired lie. I've been saying this over and over again, but apparently y'all have deaf ears. Yes, some African tribes did sell prisoners of war, but it was your European ancestors who industrialized slavery and added the brutal racial caste system and turned human trafficking into a global economy. And let's not forget, the true puppeteers behind all of this was the AJs, the Ashkenazi Jews, who financed everything and owned 90% of the slaves in the transatlantic slave trade. Did you hear that? Africans didn't build the slave ships, nor did they finance it. Africans didn't insure slave cargo through Lloyd's of London. Africans didn't create the Atlantic Triangle trade and ship 12 million people across the ocean in chains. They didn't do that. Y'all did. That was you. That was your people, your system, your sin. And I know you claim some black people did own slaves, but that was because white laws required it. So in many of those cases where we actually owned black slaves, black people were actually buying their family members to protect them because white laws didn't recognize free black kin unless they were legally owned. But I guess you hop, skip, jump, and flew over that fact. So no, you're not about to blame oppressed people maneuvering within a corrupt system for the corruption of the system itself. So you also said, I'm not paying for somebody else's sin. That's the... Lord, if I hadn't heard that a billion times from you, from y'all's people, that's what y'all constantly say. And you know what? That's kind of cute because you didn't build the country either. You didn't build this country either, but you benefit from it. And your ancestors stole the land, enslaved the labor, and structured the systems, and you inherited the perks. But I don't see you complaining about that. If you're not guilty, why are you so defensive? Why are you up here trolling in my comment section? Also, don't quote sin unless you are ready to deal with the judgment of God. See, the Bible says the sins of your fathers shall be visited upon your children, Exodus 20:5. So no, Joe Blow. You don't get to collect generational wealth and then dodge generational accountability. That's not how this truth works. That's how white privilege works, baby. Oh, poor little Jennifer, you brought out those colonial statistics like they're sacred scripture, huh? See, this is what I'm not going to let you do. No. See, let's not play this little literacy charade like your ancestors didn't intentionally engineer the very literacy you now mock. You don't get to burn the books, bar the schools, ban the languages, and then turn around and say, why can't they read? Let's actually talk some truth. Colonializers changed the languages not for progress, but for power. So Europeans intentionally dismantled indigenous tongues to destroy culture, fracture identity, and block intergenerational wisdom. In Africa, native languages were deemed primitive and systemically suppressed. In the Americas, native children were beaten for speaking their tribal tongue. In Haiti, France forced the population into French banning Creole in schools. In India, they pushed English to erase traditional educational systems. And guess what? The Bible, you all actually put that in Latin. That was your people's first literacy lockdown. Y'all didn't want anybody to have the truth. And for over 1,000 years, the Roman Church forbade commoners from reading God's word. Translators like William Tyndale were burned alive for making the Bible even readable. The Protestant Reformation only exploded once the Bible was finally translated, proving truth was hidden behind foreign control of language. Literacy rates are not indicators of intelligence, my friend. They're reflections of access. So once you start asking yourself some questions before you act like a buffoon in my comment section, who funded the schools? Who approved the curriculum? Who decided what was worthy to be taught in what language? See, the answer is real simple, but I know you love your willful ignorance. The same imperial institutions that raped and robbed and rewrote the globe. In the transatlantic slave trade, it was illegal to teach black people to read. But let me guess, you forgot about that. And in South Carolina in 1740 and Virginia 1819, laws were passed making it a crime to educate the enslaved. Oh, wow. In Belgian Congo, King Leopold II enforced forced labor over formal education and chopped off limbs of the dissenters. So poor little Jennifer, what exactly do your cherry-picked stats prove? Other than your people built a rigged race, then gloated when others couldn't catch up. See, you quote numbers, but we quote history. See, here's the truth. Y'all forged a Frankenstein system and introduced a bastardized language and now act shocked when the monster reflects your face. You weren't lifting nations, you were looting, and languaging them into submission. You're not quoting literacy, you're quoting legacy of theft. So before you quote the percentages of people who can't read, maybe take a moment to read up on your wicked whitewashed history. See, your descendants of deceivers, the gatekeepers of false glory, and the offspring of oppression. And yet, even with all your libraries, laboratories, and legislators, you still can't produce melanin, morality, or a messiah.
Phew. Okay, so sister really ate and left no crumbs with this one. I hope you are paying attention because the way she shut down these delusional commenters in her TikTok video, masterpiece, straight facts. And based on some of the responses left under her videos, child, some of these people are really exposing how clueless they are without even realizing it. Let's break down what one of these so-called critics said. The first commenter, for example, so according to them, black folks graduate less than white folks. That's the takeaway they proudly posted, as if that's some sort of intellectual point. But you see, what they conveniently ignore, what they never want to admit is that black excellence is rising and rising and doing so against all odds. Black people have been underfunded, under-resourced, and systemically held back at nearly every stage, and yet black folks still shine, they still graduate, they still excel, they still create, lead, innovate, inspire. And that's what really pisses these people off. It's the fact that despite everything their system tried to do to hold black people back, they are still rising. Let's talk about facts for a minute, because history exposes everything. These people look at today's outcome and try to judge black people as if history never happened, as if the systems their ancestors put in place have no lingering effects. But oh no, they do, and they run deep. They run deeper. For example, black colleges and universities in America, HBCUs, underfunded for generations. Some states straight up refuse to give these schools the same level of funding as palm color institutions. In fact, as recently as a few years ago, reports revealed that state legislatures had withheld billions of dollars meant for black colleges, billions, money that could have gone into better facilities, more scholarships, cutting edge programs. But no, the design was to starve black institutions and make them fail or fall behind. Meanwhile, palm color colleges were showered with state support, grants, and private donations built on old money. So, how is it fair to compare graduation rates when the playing field was never equal to begin with? And let's not forget redlining. When black families were legally barred from buying homes in certain neighborhoods or forced into districts with underfunded schools and crumbling infrastructure. You see, when black parents were denied home ownership or decent mortgages, they couldn't build generational wealth the way palm color families could. And you know what funds public schools in America? It's property taxes. So those are palm color suburban neighborhoods got the best schools, the best resources, the best teachers, while black neighborhoods got the leftovers. And this wasn't a fluke. This was the plan. Redlining made sure black kids grew in underfunded districts with fewer opportunities to succeed. And the effects of that are still being felt right now. Let's add the GI Bill exclusion to this list. After World War II, the government promised benefits to help our veterans to go to college or buy homes. But guess what? Black soldiers, despite fighting and being unallied for the US country, were often denied those benefits. Palm color veterans got the college degrees, the homes, the businesses. Black veterans left out in the cold, denied their slice of the American dream they bled for. So while palm color families moved into nice new suburbs, sent their kids to great schools and built wealth, black families were locked out, and the impact of the injustice, it didn't die in the 1940s. It's still here. School segregation is another one. Even after Brown v. Board of Education supposedly ended segregation in schools, what happened? White flight. White parents pulled their kids out of public schools and fled to the suburbs or private schools, draining resources from urban districts. Meanwhile, black kids were left behind in neglected schools with overcrowded classrooms, outdated books, and no funding for enrichment programs. And people wonder why the achievement gap still exists up to date. But it wasn't just housing or education. It was state funding policies designed to starve black institutions. Legislators intentionally crafted budgets to funnel money away from black communities and toward palm color ones. Hospitals, libraries, universities, public services, all shortchanged. And you want to compare outcomes today without mentioning that, please spare us the ignorance. See, that's a problem with some of these racists. They look at what is happening in present test scores, graduation rates, income levels, and judge black people as if history had no hand in shaping these outcomes, as if their ancestors didn't sabotage, block, and destroy black progress for hundreds of years, as if they've always played fair. But history exposes a lie. History shows who really broke the system and who's been forced to fix it ever since. And personally, I learned a lot from this video too. I was today years older when I learned that the Civil War wasn't just about freeing the slaves out of the goodness of the government's heart. No. It was about preserving the Union, controlling the South economy, and deciding who would profit most from slavery. I'm just repeating what the sister said on that. Freeing the slaves, that was a political strategy, not a humanitarian effort. And here I was thinking I knew a good amount about black American history. Turns out I've only scratched the surface. These clips are from this sister's TikTok taught me more than one history book ever did. And let's not pretend palm color slave masters didn't design system to keep black people illiterate and uneducated. They passed laws forbidding slaves from learning to read. They banned books. They tortured and anyone caught teaching a black person to write. Why, you may ask? Because they knew that knowledge was power. An uneducated slave was a dangerous slave. They knew that if black people could write, read, and think for themselves, the whole system would fall apart. And after slavery officially ended, they just found a new ways to keep us, black Americans, I'm one of you guys, underfunded schools, segregated neighborhoods, discriminatory hiring practices. The strategy shifted, but the goal stayed the same: keep black folks behind. But here we are today, still rising, still breaking through. And that, my friends, is what pisses these people off the most, because no matter what they throw at black folks, black excellence keeps pushing higher. We are making moves in tech, medicine, entertainment, education, politics, you name it, and they can't stop it. History tried, but history failed. The greatness of our people is unstoppable. Like I said, sister ate and left no crimes. She laid it out so clearly. I really hope you are following, guys, and if you weren't, go back and rewatch this and then run. Don't walk to her TikTok page at Freedom in Yeshua, like as in freedom in Yeshua, and then put OH at the end. Trust me, you don't want to miss what else she's teaching. This might be the last time I share her video, so do yourself a favor and soak up that knowledge. And as always, please drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. I want to hear what you learned, because knowledge is power, and the more we learn, the stronger we become. I'll definitely see you in my next video. Please stay peaceful.